Hi fashion lovers, you're welcome to another interesting video. In today's tutorial, we are going to be learning how to cut and sew this beautiful style, this beautiful dress with a bell sleeve or flace sleeve, as you may call it. So if it is something you want to learn, you need to keep watching this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share if you find this video very interesting. Alright guys, let's get started. To get started, I've folded my fabric. I'm using this African print fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and mark like a straight line on the upper part, which is going to serve as my starting point line. And from there, I'm going to mark from shoulder to my chest line, which is 8.5, to my bust point line, which is 9.5. I will mark shoulder to the waistline, which is 15.5. I will also go ahead and mark shoulder to my hip line, which is 24.5, and then the length of this gown is going to be 44 inches, and then I'm going to leave 1.5 inches as the hemming allowance. So I'll go ahead and roll my horizontal lines. So this is what I have after I was done marking out the lines. So the next thing, I went ahead to like cut out the fabric. Like I went ahead to cut it out from the main fabric I'm using, so I'll be able to concentrate on this. So this is my chest line, bust point line, waistline, so don't be confused. So from the starting point line, I will mark half of my shoulder measurement, which is 15 divided by 2. I'm going to have it as 7.5. On the chest line, I'm also going to mark my shoulder line, and then I'm going to go ahead and roll a line. So on this starting point, I'm going to mark 3 inches and then come down from my shoulder line, or my shoulder line, by 1.5 inches to mark my shoulder slope. So from the chest line, I will go up by 3 inches, go inward by 3/4 of an inch to mark my armhole line, my armhole curve. So the next thing is to mark my front bust. So my bust is 36 inches and my front bust is 19, while the back bust is 17 inches. By the time you add 17 and 19 together, you'll have it as 36 inches. My front bust is 19, my back bust is 17. So I'm going to go ahead and divide the front bust by 2 and mark on my chest line, and I went ahead to add 1.5 inches for the sewing allowance. So I have a video on how I explain how to get your front bust and your back bust. Because of the bust at the front, our bust is fuller at the front, so that is why we consider that while drafting our pattern. So I went ahead to on the waistline to mark my half of my nipple to nipple measurement, and I took a dart of 1.5 inches, which is 0.75 on both sides. And then on the waistline, I will mark 1/4 of my waist circumference, add the 1.5 inches dart, and then I went ahead to add 1.5 inches for my sewing allowance. So on the hip line, my hip is 39, but I added 1 inch to it, making it 40, because I don't want this to be a very fitted hip fitted dress. So my front hip is 18 inches, my back hip is 22 inches. So the front hip is 18, I'm going to divide it by 2 and I'm going to mark it here. So my back hip is 22 inches. I already also have a video on I have a video on how I explain how to get your front hip and the back hip. Because of the bolts at the back, the back hip is usually bigger than the front hip. So I have a video, you can go and watch it to understand how to get it. If you don't want, you can go ahead and divide your hip by 4, divide your bust by 4, just like you normally do. But if you want to achieve a perfect style for yourself, consider using the hip allocation method and the bust allocation method. So what I have on my hip, I remove 1 inch to mark on my knee or the length of my dress, what I have on my hip, I remove 1 inch to mark on the length of my dress. And then I went ahead to like mark out my sewing allowance. So on the neckline, I'm going to mark my neckline on the starting point line. So I use 3.5 inches as the width and the depth of my neckline as 4 inches. The width is 3.5, the depth is 4 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and mark my sewing allowance of ½ inch on the shoulder, on the armhole, and I'll also do the same for my neckline. So this is me trying to mark out my sewing allowance of ½ inch because you are cutting directly on the fabric, so you need to add all your necessary sewing allowance, neckline, shoulder, armhole, and the side. So I went ahead to like take my dart to the hip line and then go up by 2 inches to connect from the hip line to connect my dart. So with this now we have marked our our dart. So I'll go ahead and cut out this part. So after cutting out the excess, this is what I have for my front. So I've gone ahead to fold my back part. So I have folded the back part. I've marked out 1 inch for my zipper allowance and I've marked all the lines. So I marked my shoulder to the chest line, which is 8.5, shoulder to the waistline. So I'm using my front waistline, which is 15.5, shoulder to the hip line and the length of the dress. So that is what I marked. So you want to go ahead and mark half of your shoulder measurement on your chest line and also on the starting point to get your armhole line. So for the back shoulder slope, I came down by 1 inch. For the front, we use 1.5. For the back, we came down by 1 inch. So the shoulder, you want to like get the midpoint of your shoulder and then go inward by the midpoint of your neck armhole line and go inward by 0.2, 0.5. And then on the back, for the back now, you want to mark half of your back bust. So that is what I marked, half of my back bust, added my 1.5 inches for the sewing allowance. So you want to go ahead and mark your darts, line, that is nipple to nipple measurement, and add 1 inch. I'm using 1 inch for my dart, and my dart started from my chest line to the waistline. So I want to go ahead and mark my shoulder to my back waistline. My back waistline is 14 inches, and from that back waistline that I made, I will go inward by 1 inch. This is to eliminate that zipper bulge. So whenever I'm drafting a dress that does not have the bust, that technique, so what I do is that I'll mark my shoulder to the back waistline where the back waistline is, and then go inward there by 1 inch to eliminate every zipper bulge. Then I went ahead to connect it back to the nape of my dress or to the line, and then also connect it to the hip line like this. So this is me trying to remark my zipper allowance. I hope you got this part very well. I measured shoulder to the back waistline and went inward by 1 inch, for my zipper bulging effect. So from the zipper line now, you want to take 1/4 of your waist circumference, add your 1 inch for that, and then mark your sewing allowance of 1.5 inches. So on the hip line, my back hip is 22 inches divided by 2 is going to give me 11. So after the zipper allowance, notice that all measurements are coming after the zipper allowance. So mark 1/4 of your hip circumference, that is a back hips mark half of your back hip circumference, then add 1.5 inches for the sewing allowance. And I'm also going to extend my dart line to the hip line, go up by 2 inches to connect my dart. So very easy and simple. So the next thing I want to do is from my hip line, I want to come down by 5 inches to like get my underbutt. So I want to like contour my underbutt a bit, not like a full contouring, you know, not like a full contouring. So from the underbutt, from the zipper side, I went inward by 1 inch because I want to achieve like an underbutt curve contour, So I came down from the hip line by 5 inches to mark my underbutt, and from that underbutt I came inward by 1 inch. On the knee or on the length of my dress, I'm also going to come inward by 1 inch and then link it to the underbutt. So I believe you understood what I did here. I already have a video on how to do an underbutt curve contour for different sizes. So for this video, I'm not doing a full underbutt curve contour. I just want to have a bit contoured on my dress, just a bit low, on a bit curve on my dress. Did you see? So I've linked my zipper allowance. Did you see? And whatever I have on the hip line, I'm going to remove 2 inches from it and mark on my hemline. Yes, mark on my hemline. Remove 2 inches from it and mark on my hemline. So this is what I have. So from the hip line, I'm going to mark a straight line to meet the hem part. If you have watched my video on underbutt curve contour, you will understand how to do an underbutt curve contour perfectly well. But for this video, I don't want a very fitted, outfit. So that is why I just went inward by 1.1 inch. You can actually go inward by 1.5 on the underbutt, depending. So if you want to understand how underbutt is made, like a skirt or dress with underbutt curve contour, you can watch my video on it. So you'll be able to understand it perfectly well. So the next thing is to take my neckline. I'm using 3.5 inches as the width, and the depth is going to be 1.5 inches for my neckline. Did you see that? Then want to go ahead and add ½ inch for the sewing allowance on the shoulder, on the neckline, and also on the armhole. So making this dress is as simple as ABC. Is very easy and simple. So after that, I will go ahead and cut out my fabric. Did you see? I'll go ahead and cut it out. So when I'm done, this is what I have. Did you see the back? Did you see the curve? So this is the back and the front part. I've gone ahead to cut out my lining the exact way I cut out the main fabric, and this is the back part. We want to go ahead and sew the back part. So I'll go ahead and stitch the darts for the back part, the two side now. So the next thing is to like mark from the shoulder to where my zipper is going to be. I'm going to mark around that point, the shoulder to where my zipper is going to be. I think I will stop at 23 inches. Did you see? 23 inches. And from the end part, I want to like go up for my slit. So let me do that. Shoulder to where my zipper is going to be, I'm going to mark. It's going to be on 23. So from the hem part, you want to go up by 9 inches, 10 inches, or for your slit, depending. And then you want to like sew the middle point, like this middle here. So you are leaving the zipper side open and you are leaving the slit side open, and you want to go ahead and sew the line in between. So this is my center back, my front now. You want to go ahead and stitch the dart for the two side and also on the lining. So when I'm done stitching my dart for the front, this is what I have. I have also stitched the dart on the lining. So from the hem part of the lining, I'm going to cut out 1 inch away. So I added 1.5 inches as the hemming allowance. So on the lining, I'm going to cut out 1 inch, having ½ inch. So that ½ inch is what I'm going to use to sew the hem part of this dress. So this is my front part. The right side of my lining is going to face the right side of my fabric for the front, and then I want to go ahead and sew the neckline and top stitch. So when you are done sewing the neckline, you will see the lining will not align to the fabric because you cut out 1 inch from the lining. So you have to push the lining to the down part and sew that down part by 1/2 inch. So when you are done sewing, this is what you are going to have. So you want to like arrange your lining like this to sew the side. You want to match up the lining to sew the side. It's going to come up a bit. Did you see? Then you want to go ahead and sew the side by 1/2 inch. The sewing allowance I added was 1.5. So I will sew the lining and the fabric by 1/2 inch. So this is the back part. You can see this is the space for the zipper and the slit. So I'll go ahead and fix my zipper. Did you see? I've gone ahead to fix my zipper on my zipper line. Did you see that? So for my lining now, I'm gonna go ahead and cut out 1 inch from the down part, just like I did for the front lining. So you want to go ahead and cut out 1 inch from the down part of your lining for the back parts now. So when you are done, you want to face the right side of the lining facing the right side of the fabric. Did you see? Right side of the lining facing the right side of the fabric. You want to match it up on the neckline and sew on the neckline, like sew and top stitch on the neckline. So this is me trying to arrange, and when you are done, you are going to push down the lining to the hem part and also stitch the hem part just like we did for the front. You push it down and stitch the hem part and then sew the side as well. Sew the side by 1/2 inch. Did you see? You go ahead and sew the side by 1/2 inch. So let me repeat myself. Sew the neckline, sew the hemming part, and sew the side. So when I'm done, this is what I have. So did you see? I've sewn the neckline, I've stitched the down part, and I've also sewn the side just the way I did for the front. So let me turn it like this. So the next thing you want to do is to like mash up your lining and your fabric on that zipper side, and then go ahead and sew that part, but not close to the zipper teeth. Did you see? Mash your lining and your fabric and sew on that side. So note that we're sewing on the wrong side now. So on the slit, you want to also match your slit. Did you see? Match the lining and the fabric like this. Did you see? For the slit, and then you want to go ahead and sew by 1 inch, which is your zipper allowance there. Did you see? You want to stitch from that line, you want to stitch, and also do the same for this part. You want to also stitch like this. Did you see what I'm doing? Hold the lining and the fabric together and stitch that part. So when you are done, you want to turn it to the right side now. So this is what I have for my front and back after turning it to the right side. So the next thing is to stitch the front and the back together. So you want to go ahead and stitch on the shoulder now. So open the two shoulder like this, open it up like this, let the lining face the lining and the fabric face the fabric. Then you want to go ahead and sew the two shoulder, and when you are done, you want to sew one side like this, one side of your fabric by the 1 inch that is remaining, and then when you are done, you push it out to this point, push it out like this, and then go ahead and stitch the side seams. So this is actually very easy to do. You want to stitch the side seams. So when I was done, this is what I have. Did you see? When I was done sewing, this is what I have. Did you see that? I've gone ahead to iron and iron and iron. So this is what I have. So the next thing is to cut out my sleeve. So I'm going to fold my fabric in this triangular way. Did you see? I'm going to fold my fabric in a triangular way. Did you see what I'm doing? Then you want to use your basic sleeve. So this is my basic sleeve that I drafted in my previous videos. So you want to place the sleeve now on the fabric in that triangular way. So the tip of the sleeve should meet this point. Did you see? The tip of the sleeve should meet at this point. So I'm going to add extra 6 inches to this sleeve, and then I want to go ahead from the tip. Now I'm going to keep my tape and then measure round, just the way you do for your flay. So this sleeve is actually a long sleeve, but then I still added extra 6 inches to it because from the style we're working with, the sleeve is meant to pass your ankle, or it's meant to pass your wrist. The sleeve is meant to pass your wrist, so you want to like go ahead and mark a curve, just the way you do for your, just the way you do when you are cutting your fillet. Then after that, you want to go ahead and add ½ inch on the upper part here for your sewing allowance, and then you go ahead and cut this out. So after I was done sewing this sleeve, I found out that the sleeve was a bit bigger. It was bigger for me, so I have to like reduce the sleeve. So I'll show you what I mean. But if you're a very big person, because I'm a slim person, this size is good for you. Did you see that? So I'll go ahead and attach the sleeve to my fabric. I'm going to fold it by ½ inch on the down part. You can decide to use your lining and to finish up the hem part of the sleeve. So when I was done attaching the sleeve, this is what I have. Did you see? So the style came out very beautiful. Did you see the sleeve? I've attached the sleeve, and I've joined everywhere, so we are done. So this tutorial is for beginners, and I believe as a beginner you have learned something. And if you have learned something, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe. So this is the back part. You can see everywhere is neatly finished. Did you see? Everywhere is neatly finished. You don't need to go and weave. So this is what I have. So this is what I'm trying to see. Like I shortened the sleeve, you can see. So from the down part of the sleeve, I went inward by 4 inches, and then I sewed it diagonally to meet the armhole, just the way you see my hand going. So because the sleeve was a bit bigger for me, it's still fine though, but I didn't like the fact that it was that big. So let me just show you what I did. Did you see? I started sewing it like this. Did you see where I sewed? So that was what I did. So thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to like this video. See you in my next tutorial. Bye.